Hi, everybody. So here's how court went today. So, starting with, it's like 100 degrees here, and I knew that it was going to be super hot when I got out, so I wanted to wear something that was lightweight but still respectable for court. And I had this nice little blazer that was plaid, and it's lightweight, 3/4 arm, has longer shorts that goes with it being instead of being a whatever. Anyway, I put on my clothes, head out the door. I'm walking down the street and I'm looking in the store window after parking close to the courthouse, and it looks like the back of my shorts are shorter than the front. And I thought that's very strange. And I wondered, is it possible that my shorts are on backwards? So keeping in mind I'm walking down the sidewalk, on the other side of the street there's construction going on. So I'm wondering, well, surely if I've got the men wrong, the tag will be in the front and I can simply look down my shorts and I will notice that there's a tag there. So I looked at my shorts and I thought, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm walking down the street in public, or sidewalk in public, looking down my shorts as I walk up to a courthouse. Like, that isn't a little bit freaky. So then I decide, yes, my shorts are on backwards and I'm going to need to fix this before I go into the courthouse, or before I go to court. So I go in, I get through security, I go up and go to the bathroom where I quickly change my shorts around. And I go into the mirror to wash my hands, and I set my purse down in the sink next to me that turns on automatically. And I got my purse all wet. And I was just jerking the wet purse out of the sink when a lady comes into the daylights out of me. And in my panic, it also scared her. I had almost taken a selfie of myself in that bathroom because I wanted to tell my funny short story, which was way less funny after my purse got wet. So I left the bathroom and went down and sat at the seat outside of the courtroom waiting for my time, when finally the crazy neighbor walks up. There he is. He's finally made it. Third time's a charm, they say, and he is here. He is there. I don't want to look at him. I just want to get on with this. It looks like they have quite a few people this time, and it seems like my case never goes first, so I end up having to miss all this work for the crazy neighbor. So, court is now... We got to go into the courtroom, and crazy neighbor comes in, and he seats himself on the plaintiff's side. So I end up going over to the defendant's side and just waiting. When they call us up, the judge tells him that since he hasn't heard his side yet, he can go first. But before he does, he wants to warn him. Allegations in court can be used against him, and some of these allegations could result in criminal charges. He has the right to plead the fifth. He told him that someone could be in the courtroom to obtain records from court to use in other matters. He then asked crazy neighbor if he wanted to speak. Crazy neighbor says no. Judge, okay then. And then to me he asked how long I felt I needed the order of protection. I told him I thought a year was probably sufficient, that I didn't think he would come back into the neighborhood once his house sells, and he moves. Crazy neighbor interrupts, saying that he has an offer on his house and that he isn't there on the weekends. Both statements are untrue to the best of my knowledge. It's about this time that the judge notices a potential conflict in our case. It seems the judge's wife is counsel for crazy neighbor's wife in their ongoing divorce. Judge asks crazy neighbor if he is okay with proceeding. He continues. He asks crazy neighbor, he explains the potential conflict is, because his wife is counsel for crazy neighbor's wife, that he may not be able to be impartial. Did crazy neighbor feel like this court could be impartial, or did he want him to consider moving the case, this unrelated case he points out? Crazy neighbor says He's comfortable moving forward. The judge looks at me, and I said, I'm fine with it. And so it went. The judge again begins to go over the terms of the order of protection. He mentions that the defendant may not dig holes under the fence or break the fence or destroy any community property. Crazy neighbor interrupts again. The holes weren't me, he says. It wasn't me, he says. It was them. Myself, of course, and his ex-wife. They were doing voodoo shit under the fence. You can tell. The dirt is a different color. I have a video of it if you'd like to see. He continues on to say that I am lying, that I am a liar, that I lied to the police, that I lied to the judge in court, that I am lying, that everything started on May 1st when he called the police on me, and that all of the threats and everything that happened in the hole and everything, that was after I filed this paperwork with the court. And so I was lying about everything. At this point, the judge says, not that our case isn't super important, but that he has hired a court reporter, that they're going to be paid during this next time. They have some cases that have to be heard in front of the court reporter, and that they need to take about an hour break, and then they will get back to our case. And at that time, it will be my turn to respond to the defendant's statements. So court will now be, for us, on break for the next hour. I thought for a little bit during the break about what I should say, and I realized at this point that the neighbor's biggest weakness was himself. And he had just told the court that I and his wife were performing voodoo in a hole under the fence. So I decided the smart thing to do would just be to explain that I really didn't understand what he was saying exactly on the whole. And as for timing and prior statements, and when those were made, I had already submitted to the court a timeline that had timestamps from social media posts and pictures I had taken at the time of those events, as well as other evidence. Crazy neighbor interrupts again and tells the judge, or the judge tells him it's not his turn. He wants to show the judge the picture of the different colored dirt and how he was protecting my property from falling into the hole by putting a chair there and a shovel in the hole. And then he said that he was trying to keep my pets out of the hole, and that's why he put the shovel there with it in the hole. The judge tells crazy neighbor he does not need to see the video. And he turns to me, the judge, and he says, now, you don't know his wife, correct? And I'm like, well, I've met her a couple times. I moved in March. And she moved out shortly thereafter. I met her through the fence once, and I met her in the front with him once. But no, I don't know her, Your Honor. Crazy neighbor nearly comes out of his street yelling, Judge, she's a liar. My wife is at her house all the time. I talk to her through the fence all the time. I'm not saying she hides her in her house. I'm just saying she's always there. In fact, the reason the fence is damaged is because the kid, who he's referring to, he believes that his ex-wife ran away with a new boyfriend and that he has a son. And the son is actually an adult, but that is who he calls the kid. The fence is damaged because the kid, he's like, there have been 5 or 6 guys that have came over that fence right there. That's the kids that are doing that. He's like, I talked to one of them. I talked to him for like 20 minutes. I couldn't get anything out of him. And finally, I had to let him go. He then tells the judge that he's called the cops on me many times and that the last time was May 1st. This is complete news to me. I don't know if that's even true. When I was able to speak again, I explained that the reason I went to court on this matter was because everything escalated. I was like outside having an audio message with my adult daughter, who's a lawyer in New York City. And that was when he called me a dyke, faggot, bitch, and wanted to fight me. And that's when he busted up the fence, and that's when he started digging under the fence. And I made contact with the police again, and the court has all of this papers because I called the police, and the police asked me to get an order of protection against him. We noticed at that point that there was a chair, and that chair faces my living room window, so he could be looking inside my living room window. Now, you have record of him also looking through the window and having a flashlight in the yard because he called the police on me that night. That was the first night I even knew there was an issue with him next door obsessing on my house. It was because the police showed up and woke me up to ask me if I was hiding his wife in my house. And I'm like, Your Honor, you have the timeline. I still do not know his wife. I've never hid her in my house. She's never been to my house. And the judge, he interrupts again, and he's like, Judge, I can't see inside her house from my yard. She is lying. She lied to the cops. My wife said she could tell something was off about her as soon as she met her. I was talking to my wife on the way here, and she wished me good luck today. The judge now politely looks over to crazy neighbor and says, All right, I've heard enough. The judge turns back to me and asks if there's anything else I would like to add. I said, Your Honor, I have submitted pictures of everything, including those for perspective previously. The judge then turns to crazy neighbor and says, Mister, and we'll just keep calling him crazy neighbor for privacy reasons. The plaintiff has documented this case very well. I understand you have guns. Crazy neighbor says, No, sir, I do not have any guns. The judge now looks at me and asks, How do you know he has guns? I responded, Your Honor, whenever you call the police, whenever the police are sent out to your house, it comes across on the scanner, they always warn them that he's a gun collector. I'm like, also, as noted in the documents, he has told me on previous occasions about his guns, about how he isn't afraid to use them. And even an instance where he said he was on the phone with his wife chasing some kids down the street because he believed that they were either the kid that is the boyfriend's son or somebody that she works with or something, that they were watching his house, and he was going to prove that it was them because by chasing him with his truck, and if they took off, he said he told her that he would blow their fucking heads off. And then he proceeded to chase the kids down the street in his truck. The judge then looked at the defendant, who now blurts out, I used to have a .22, but I gave it to my grandson. The judge asks when he gave it to his grandson, and to which the neighbor responds, about 5 months ago. The judge now goes on with conditions of the order of protection. He tells me to wait while he gets the paperwork together for me. He turns to crazy neighbor and says, How about July 7th, 9 a.m. to bring me proof that you have given the gun to your grandson? He said, take a picture of him with it and get a sworn statement that the gun was transferred into their possession. The neighbor seemed confused, and then the judge said, or you can call the sheriff and have him come over and inspect the house, and then have him go over to your grandson's house to be sure the gun has been transferred to him over there, but you have to prove it to me. Crazy neighbor, Judge, my mother is 94 years old, and she lives down in LA, and I'm going to see her tonight. I'm leaving at midnight, and I'm going to be gone for a while. Judge, how long are you going to be gone? Neighbor, about a week or two. Judge, okay, July 12th, 9 a.m. Be here with your proof and stick around for your paperwork so you won't have to be served at 3 a.m. again. They provide him with his paperwork, and the bailiff or court officer, whatever he is, walks with him as he approaches me, and then stands kind of by me as as the guy continues to walk out, as the neighbor walks out, and waits until the door closes before he returns back up to the front. I wait around, and eventually I get my paperwork, and then I went and walked nice and slow. I just wanted to waste as much time as possible to put a good gap between us. I was hoping for, anywhere from 15 minutes to 30 minutes between us, so that he's long gone before I'm outside of the courthouse. As he walked out the door, the look on his face, I tried not to look at him, but I also didn't want to look like a wimp. And it was a weird situation. I'm right at the aisle as he's coming through. I'm sitting in the courtroom waiting for my paperwork as he comes through, and he's just pissed off. He's furious, and you just don't really know what his next step's going to be. And the bailiff or whoever, he could see it too, It was a whole moment. It was an unnerving moment. I looked away, but not until he was kind of in my peripheral vision, because I was scared to death that he might try to smack me or something as he went by. I didn't trust him. I just didn't know what he might friggin' do. So, eventually I got my paperwork. I walked down and I filled my water bottle. I went to the bathroom. Yes, the same bathroom that I had to change my shorts in reverse on. And I still, wow, what a frazzled morning that I even had my shorts on backwards. And then I was looking down my pants as I'm walking down the road to the courthouse. What a friggin' weirdo. Oh my God. Anyway, once I got to my car, I turned on my phones. I waited for my emails and messages and everything to load so that I could check on business, and that always takes a second. And then I dialed my mother, and I started heading back for home. I have now wasted that good 15 to 30 minutes, right? So about 3 or 4 blocks down the road, I'm heading up this little bridge that takes me to the country road home, right? And all of a sudden, I see and hear the truck. He's coming up, and he must have put it in neutral or something, revved the motor, and then popped it back into gear, and then went flying past me really close, and then cuts ahead of a couple cars ahead of me and exits. I slow back, immediately knowing who this is. I want cars between myself and him. How many of these people ahead of me are going to exit? I don't know, but there's only 2 cars here. I need more cars. So I'm kind of driving too slow, annoying people, but they're going to pass me now. I'm going to try to get more people between him and I as we hit that exit. We got to go through a very small stretch of kind of town property and the town street, and then it's going to get very rural. And it's going to be very rural all the way till we get to the neighborhood. And I didn't want to be alone on that road with him once we got out of the town, so I was like, okay. So I end up getting another car ahead of us, but as I come to that first 4-way stop, I lose one car. It just gets this way where now there's only one car between us. And he's driving very slow. He's not doing this, 80 and a 60 or 55 thing. He's doing like 40. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to be that close behind him. He's pissed off. I don't know what he's going to do. So I slow back even further. I pull off. I lose my mom. I'm on the phone with her, but I lose her for some reason. I have no signal with her, so call drops. I'm like, great, so now I have no signal. I'm on this country road. He's driving slow, but that other car is still between us. I see him make the turn. He's way up there. I see him make the turn. The other car doesn't. And I'm like, so I'm going to be behind him if I make that turn. And I'm like, okay, I gotta do something here. So as I went into the neighborhood, and again, he should have even then been home before I even came into the neighborhood, into the subdivision, but he was definitely screwing around. So he had made it around the corners and could not see me when, at least as far as I know, when I came into the neighborhood. So I went the opposite direction and around the block, stopped and got the mail, so that by the time I got to my house, I kind of parked in the middle of the street behind a tree, hit the garage door button, watching the garage door open. As soon as it opened, I flew up into that driveway, into the garage, and hit it, shut it. It was like, whew, what a rush. So, whether it's over or not, I have no idea. But that's what happened today.